Hello and welcome. I'm feeling called to talk a little bit about some of the energy definitely coming through as we transition from 2020 to 2021. I know I did a couple of videos already that talked a little bit about it, but I just had kind of a download that came in, partial epiphany-ish, and one of the things I realized some months ago about this year was the energy was the judgment card times two. It's the 20th card in tarot. A lot of folks were mostly looking at the Emperor energy, the number 4 from 2 and 2. Although, one thing I realized is a lot of us discount the energy of 0, which is the Fool card. And so, let's look at that just briefly. So, 2020 was the Judgment card times 2. It was also the Fool times 2 and the High Priestess times 2. And then we see the Emperor in there too. So what can we possibly think about that? Well, the Judgment card is a mixture of things. It is about judgment. It's the duality of judgment, like positive judgment, negative judgment, things like that. It's also about the beginning of a quest. And for many, well, I would say many in the collective who would be watching this video and those that I really love watching, it's about choosing your journey, choosing your quest. It doesn't have to necessarily mean a twin flame journey. It could be a business. Could have been choosing yourself. It could have been choosing to heal your lineage. It could have been choosing a political path. There's many things you may have chosen, but a quest began in 2020 for you. Maybe it was just as we were leaving 2019 into 2020, or maybe it was just after 2020 happened. Either way, if you think about it, I'm sure that something significant was either happening or happened right on New Year's of last year. And in a similar fashion, that is about to happen now as we are hours away. It's the West Coast here, so it's almost 7 p.m. So we're still hours away from hitting that New Year's moment to 2021. Now, if we, what I also like to look at is that according to the calendar, we don't have any moments where we're like, where it's just the 2020, the year energy, 2020 or 2021. That's kind of an overall theme. But I like to look at the energy of the first day of each year and the last day of each year. So if you include in that 2021 began on 1/1/20, sorry, 2020 began on 1/1/2020. And what do we see there? We see the number 6 overall. We actually see 2 times 3. So we have High Priestess energy times 2. And for those of you that have felt like you've at least mostly been on a divine feminine path, especially if you've been almost removed from relationships, more by choice than anything else, but you have found yourself more working on you and more connecting with spirit. And that doesn't mean masculines are not. It's simply been a big emphasis throughout the year on divine feminine energy, especially when you remove the physical 3D stuff. And so there's been an emphasis on that. And then we see the number 6, which is the Lover's card. And so New Year's between 2019 and 2020 had a lot to do with love and choices and a relationship with the divine as well as with the 3D. And we've seen, go back and look at any reader, look at any coach that you've been looking at, any sort of videos you've been looking at, go back all the way to the beginning of the year and just look at the themes that have come about. A lot of it has been focusing on getting us back into connection with the divine, and has, we had all that Capricorn energy created all sorts of limitations and restrictions, and there have been power struggles, and it's been a lot of devil card energy and things like that. Not in traditional superstitious devil energy, but as in Saturn energy, as in Capricorn energy, as in government versus people, things like that, and a lot of like father wound stuff going on. And it had a lot of us lost and kind of going through our cycles of light and dark and things like that. Now, as we hit today, and we are 12/31, 2020, and that would, I look at it a few different things. If there is a number in there that is within the major arcana, I will look at that. Typically, I'll take any numbers above that and add them together and look at that tarot card. Or sometimes you can see a reflection. So in this instance, you can interpret it whatever way you feel called to. What I look at is we have number 12, and then 31 is 13 backwards. And then we have 2020 in there. Now 12 is the Hanged Man card, which is about surrender and new perspective and, well, kind of embracing your quest, like surrendering to what you do not know, having patience, being open to all timelines and all possibilities, and knowing that, as absurd as it may feel to tie yourself up above a well to seek knowledge, you're going to try it anyways, because worst case, it was just silly and meant nothing, and best case, you learned something incredible that you never would have learned had you not decided to embrace that absurdity. And then we also have the number 3 from that, which is Empress energy. It's been another theme going on this year too. It's a connection to the High Priestess energy, and the two together equal divine feminine, not one separately, the two together. And the number 31, we could say 13 backwards, the death card, transformations, butterfly moments, phoenix moments, allowing old layers of ego to die and be shed away, old fears, old superstitions, things that don't serve us anymore, and embracing the spiral cycles of life. And then we have the number 4. Look at that. We have the Emperor there, so we have the Empress and the Emperor in that. Now, if you take 12 and 31 and you do them individually, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 1, we have the number 7, which is, for me, a big emphasis on it. It's the Chariot, momentum. It's also, I mean, in its own dichotomy, it's feeling pulled in two different directions sometimes. And it's connected to Cancer and Leo, those signs. And it's very much connected to manifestation. It can also be about, movement and travel. And it's the biggest card most closely associated with victory and triumph. So wherever it is that we find ourselves on this day, at the end of the at the end of the world now, at the end of the year of 2020, there is some kind of victory or another that we are seeing and experiencing. And what's great is the more that you focus on looking for how you have already succeeded, how you have already built beautiful momentum, and you focus on that, the more of that energy will come in. And it's a great thing to focus on as this year leaves us and the new year comes in. Now, if we add in 2020, then we still have the High Priestess and the Fool and the Emperor energy, new beginnings, divine feminine's spiritual aspect and the divine masculine's physical aspect. That's something I should have said before, is like 2020 has been divine feminine's more 5D self, like getting into union with that, but also kind of an exclusion, a specific focus, a 2020 vision on the divinity part of femininity. Whereas for the masculine side of that, it's been a focus on the physical 3D aspect of masculinity and things like that. And sorry, brief interruption. It's been a year of interruptions, and that is bound to happen too when you have an emphasis on 5D divine femininity versus 3D divine masculinity. But if we take, and the Fool energy that most of us discount until we recognize it, is that new beginning, that egg, the Easter eggs, the wombs in the middle. And a lot of people have started recognizing like breadcrumbs and synchronicities and things like that are actually like Easter eggs. They're cooperative components they're something fun, and especially because when that's all you have to go on, you kind of get stripped down to a T, that's you when that's all you have to go on, you really have to learn to embrace what you have, whether it's been in the divine masculine energy of the 3D or the divine feminine energy of the 5D. Now, as I was saying, if we take that 7 and we add 4 to it, what do we have? We have 11. That's the Justice card. And also, break that down too, back to the divine feminine. And, oh wow, that's funny. What a download on that. So, I was already thinking the last few days about this 7-11 energy. Like, oh, thank heaven, 7-11. It's momentum towards karmic justice. And the funny thing is in breaking that down, it's momentum in karmic justice back to the divine feminine. And what the download I just got was that, for one thing, if you've really been embracing your journey in the divine feminine, or even, in fact, in the divine masculine too, whether it's your journey's been mostly 3D or your journey's been mostly 5D, it all comes back to the divine feminine, which, and many spiritual paths will bring you back to that, to the Mother Earth, to the womb, to where life begins in the 5D with the feminine. That's why so many, especially indigenous cultures, hold femininity, the woman's body, to be the source of all creation. And so it's likely that what we're going to see, what we're already seeing, and going to see more of, because the energy of this last year will not just be gone at midnight, it will continue to overlay into the new energy of this next year, is return back to divine feminine. And that can play out in all sorts of ways. You tell me how it's playing out in your life for that. Now, if we look at, let's just look at 2021 for a minute. If you add it all up together, we have the Fool and the Hierophant. A new beginning with the 5D divine masculine. That's the overall theme on that. 5, 0 and 5. And I just saw 12-12 on the clock too. Now, isn't that interesting that this last year we saw divine feminine 5D and divine masculine 3D? And then now we're seeing divine masculine. In fact, it's both if you think about it. We're seeing, let's break it down just briefly. I might have to do a two-parter on this, but we'll see. Is that you have 2, 0, 2, 1. So we have the Fool. We have the High Priestess twice. Again, the divine feminine's gonna follow us while we're in the 2020s. And then we have 1, which is the Magician, another divine masculine aspect. And then we have the Hierophant, divine masculine 5D self. And I think part of the reason a lot of people are feeling really good about this next year, with emphasis on Twin Flame Journey, but not alone in it, is that when you have, I was going to say 4 is in there because 2 and 2 is 4. We're going to be starting to see union between divine masculine 3D energy and divine masculine 5D energy. So there's likely to be a lot of interesting changes in there with that, especially with the Fool and the Magician energy in there and the High Priestess energy still in there. So we're seeing initiations and communication and lessons learned and union between divine masculine 5D and divine masculine 3D. And that really says a lot in itself. Now, let's look at the first day of 2021. It's going to be 1/1/2021. And so if we take that, not only do we have 2 again, because, and that's going to be another theme in the 2020s. We have High Priestess times 3, and emphasis on that. We also see the Lovers again, but we add 1. And when you add 1 to the Lovers, you get the Chariot. You get victory. I just saw 14-14 on there too. The payoff of patience, so to speak. And the mixture of energy between Cancer and Leo. Momentum of whatever it is that you've been working on, whatever things have been coming. And with this last year ending with a focus on momentum, which I already see 7, but momentum of justice and back to divine feminine. And then the year starts out with another emphasis on divine feminine, but an overall on victory and momentum with the the overarching theme of divine feminine 5D, divine masculine 5D, divine masculine 3D, and then initiations and new beginnings, you can already kind of see what sort of themes we're going to be seeing coming out in this next year. And I've been hearing some other readers talk about, I'd say, Fiery Grace the Gifted. I think Divine Mavericks talked about it a little bit. A few others have seen it too. Is that whereas a lot of us have been seeing various different things that we thought were going to manifest in 2020, that actually was spirit showing us what's likely to happen in 2021. And no, that does not necessarily mean you're going to go through a whole year of things that you saw happening this last year, but you might. And the trick is to getting into a place where you delight in that, where you can see what is coming and you understand manifestation and connection with yourself, and to where you can be graceful and fun and just enjoy what you see is coming towards you, whether that's been abundance or love, or if you've been a twin flame journey, your twin coming back towards you, or higher connection with self, with spirit, with any 5D persons that you've been connected with, any of that. Like, how cool is that 2020 brought us clarity, brought us vision, brought us the ability to connect within and trust what we know in our hearts and souls above what is necessarily in the 3D, and then how to bring from the 5D into the 3D. Anyways, I'm going to leave this here. This was a message that felt like it needed to get out. I hope you enjoy it, and if you didn't, I'll catch you in the next video. Love y'all anyways. And if I don't get any more videos out tonight, Happy New Year's to you wherever you are.